Today's video is all about Ethena, digital dollars for the internet economy. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, trying to figure out whether if this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. And the question is Ethena an opportunity? Guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive today, looking into the fundamentals. We want to get a full picture, a very detailed picture about what this project is all about, because at the end of the day, should we be scaling in? The question is, should we be allocating our capital to this project, Ethena, giving us some good value? Let's check it out. Obviously, we're going to be using the website as our main platform to navigate the project. Hopefully, the team giving us all the little details, all the documentation that we need. So we'll be taking that approach. And of course, the focus and the lens will be a retail investor lens. We want to make sure that there's information to get the retail investor bullish, meaning that all the communication has to be within the understanding of a retail investor and all those details to get us fundamentally bullish. So let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the website. Let's begin by seeing digital dollars for the internet economy, earn with USDE. As you keep on going down, wow, that was quick. What happens when you click, it goes straight to the next page. That's kind of cool. It kind of like segments the website into pages. As you can see, there's an APY. We see 19% average APY, USDE supply, and we're going to talk about a little bit of these metrics. Of course, we have different chains where these Ethena is listed, and it's not necessarily Ethena per se. Let's be clear about what's going on here, because even this little landing page that we see right here doesn't give us the full picture about what Ethena really is. Ethena is a stable coin environment ecosystem. Let me just quickly reduce the size of this page so we can see a little bit more of it, perhaps. That probably helped. Let's see, or maybe not. Let me put it back a little bit. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that it's all about the dollars. Okay, Ethena is all about the dollars. It's kind of weird because we want to assume that our vision here in the crypto space is not talking about dollars, but one of the hotter narratives in the last little while has been the stablecoin narrative, and this is exactly where Ethena fits within the crypto space. So we're going to do our best to really analyze what this is. I'm going to throw it out there, guys. Ethena is not an easy project to understand as far as its technical capabilities, and because of that, I'm going to try to keep it very simple. I'm going to try to keep it very relevant, because we can get very deep, and at the end of the day, as an algorithmic stablecoin issuer, the algorithm part of things get hectic for a lot of newcomers, including myself, to be honest, like the way they keep it pegged and so on and so forth. We'll get into all of this. Let's continue scrolling down. The holy grail of internet money. What's important to understand is that our space here in crypto land is heavily reliant on stablecoin. It is something that is necessary for our economy, right? Meaning the crypto economy. We want to be able to trade. We want to be able to get into the safe haven of stability. And of course, in the past, in many cycles, we've had many attempts to create various stable coins, different types of stable coins. Particularly the ones that I'm going to be speaking about today is the algorithmic stablecoin, a stablecoin of which keeps its balance based on an algorithm, a mechanism. Okay, so super important. Then you start to realize, okay, if that's the case, why don't we just peg to a dollar, the US dollar, for example, like USDT does, or USDC, and so on? Well, we want to move away from that dependency and eventually come up with some sort of stability using an algorithmic approach. And this starts to keep us, wondering, is this something that is necessary for this space? Is this something that is lucrative for this space? And I say that it is a great attempt to create, a software solution. And of course, we're here in this space looking for software solutions. So we can see it's the holy grail of internet money, some sort of stable coin. And I'm going to use some sort of, because the reality is we've been issued many stable coins in this market in the last little while. We've had so many, right? Of course, the major ones being USDT, but there are many out there. global instant access to a dollar savings account. So what we can see here is that over time we've seen that there was an increase of saving technology for the world. We can see that there's been an increase in USDE beginning of 2024. Right now, we're seeing some adoption, major adoption globally, generally speaking here, with our algorithmic stablecoins, and the data is definitely there to support that. Okay, now obviously America being one of the leaders in adoption and so on. But if we go on forward, we know that Ethena, being a stablecoin environment, is highly dependent on DeFi, decentralized finance. Now, it doesn't mean that it's only focused on that, because you can, definitely trade the ENA token. And by the way, this deep dive is all about ENA, the token, not necessarily the stable coin itself that it issues, because it does issue two stable coins. Earn your savings with SUSDE, which is one, and use USDE in other applications. So you have Ethena, you have SUSDE, and you have the ability to gain rewards based on your staking, based on your holding of stable coins, which is obviously earning yield, APY, is always an area of interest to many of us. So you can see that the DeFi aspect of things with Ethena can definitely be translated into many applications, use cases across chains. We've seen stable coins across many chains, right? So you have to understand stable coins are chain agnostic. It doesn't matter. They represent liquidity. So Ethena in this case is basically focusing on how they can get their stable coin used across the space. And DeFi is usually the outlet for a lot of that. So we have Aave, Morpho, Pendle. These are all Ethereum-based projects that offer financial instruments that are very typical to traditional marketplaces or economic marketplaces. But nonetheless, we need to see these things replicate here in this space. So this is pretty good to see Ethena taking that really traditional approach and adopting it and carrying it over here into the crypto space. We have exchanges. So this is also important because it has a lot to do with their ability to keep pegged, right? So USDE as margin collateral, okay, deposit into partner earn programs. So Bybit, Mexi, Durbit, Hyperliquid. So there's capabilities of USDE as margin collateral. Interesting stuff. And institutional USDE exposure via regulated fund. We have Converge, Wintermute. Guys, we know these. If you've been in this space, you've heard these names before, and there's some others coming soon. So interesting integrations to the DeFi, into finance. And guys, this is just the beginning, right? We know that Athena's definitely becoming very institutional lately. Let's keep on scrolling. Let's see what else we got. Unparalleled transparency. So this is great. Unparalleled transparency. In DeFi, it's super important because we're talking about money. That's plain and simple. So I appreciate their approach to be completely transparent. They even have a dashboard, which I'll show you in a second. They'll give you full transparency, real-time backing assets, which we're going to have to talk about a little bit more, because regulation in the States has created a scenario where, stablecoin issuers are going to have their assets backed in a very specific way that is in compliance, which, guys, ultimately, there's always going to be both sides of the fence. Do we want regulation? Do we not want regulation? What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm here to just show you what the reality is. And the reality is that we are getting a little bit of stability within the stablecoin narrative by creating some sort of security. Because at the end of the day, we need to feel a bit secure about where our stablecoins are being not held, but our liquidity is being held via stablecoin tokenization. Okay, so this is something we really have to keep clear. Weekly proof of reserve. This is part of it, right? Part of that weekly, monthly proof of reserve. We are frequent proof of reserve, but the question is, what are they going to be the reserves? Are they going to be Ethereum and Bitcoins and so on? Which in this case, at this current moment, it is. Okay, so we're going to have to really be clear about all of this, because the proof of reserves require oracles, they require other implementations, and you can see we got Chainlink and Chaos Labs and much more here for this agenda of proof of reserves, which is necessary for this within this narrative. We've seen historical events where things gone really bad within the stablecoin narrative. I'm not going to bring that up, but the stablecoin narrative is definitely part of the wild, wild west here in the crypto space, and it is definitely part of that engineering process of which we haven't really had a major breakthrough. Okay, a real first mover advantage that stuck. Okay, so maybe Athena is where it's at, and if you were seeing what the Athena price right now is looking like, it looks really, really good. Okay, we've basically been covering Athena for a good while here on the channel, and since then we've been, seeing Athena perform very well. Monthly custodial attestations, so independent attestations of the value of the backing assets. So again, more transparency, cool stuff. Coppers.co, Sifu, and so on. 100% 24/7 mint redeem availability. Interesting stuff with regards to transparency. Highlights liquid leverage on Aave, Ethena, and Coinbase international launch. These are hot new things that are coming right now, and they're definitely in the social. So you can see that this is having Coinbase and many others in this space, even in the traditional finance space, being tagging along with Athena is not bad of an idea. Now, Athenian Ton is quite interesting because of Telegram. Okay, and that's another thing that we got to talk about, because Athena's vision on their roadmap integrates Ethena, or their stable coins, let's put it that way, because Ethena is primarily a governance token. I hate to be very exclusive or keep this deep dive exclusive to the Athena token. I would hate to, but it is an Athena deep dive. So we got to be really clear, like, this value that Athena brings right now is very useful to Ton, right? Because Ton, being a highly used social media platform, could benefit from the use of stablecoin transactions. Imagine being able to send stablecoins across, Telegram, right? You're not necessarily sending Ethena tokens across Telegram. It's the stable coins that they are providing to the space that you're going to see integrated into Ton, right? So this is what and they're both tokens, right? Stable coins are tokens. They're tokenized, stability, basically tokenized dollars, and depending on how they create their algorithmic stability, right? So we have to really understand what's happening in Athena's ecosystem is based on the stable coins, but then there is the Athena token, right? So we're going to try to be very clear about all of this, and I'm going to try not to kind of like bounce back and forth, but you kind of have to, right? You kind of have to join the future of internet finance. Get started with USDE or explore Athena's ecosystem for retail institutional users alike. So the stable coin, again, USDE is the stable coin, and then there's some others, USDTB. We're going to talk about that one because I think that's going to cause a lot of hype and a lot of interest. Of course, BlackRock integration is crazy to see Athena integrated with such institutions. Whether you like BlackRock or not, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they are going to pump bags if that's their agenda, and they want to pump their own bag. They're going to take a couple people with them, and you're going to see Athena, most likely, even considering the traditional approach, it will do well, right? So you're going to have to ask yourself, are you a trader? Are you investing based on fundamentals? Are your fundamentals hinged upon decentralization and such? And then you got to make your decisions on how that applies to your accumulation strategy. But at the end of the day, we have to be real. Having BlackRock involved in any financial instrument, including a stablecoin on Athena, is pretty bullish for the use case and utility. And if that's the case, there should be some value there, whether you like it or not. That's the case. That's the reality. All right, so let's kind of move on. That's the website. I think we conclude. We got some links here. We got some docs, governance, of course. Like I mentioned, the main utility of the ENA token is governance. Right, that's the main utility, and it's very clear on their documentation that's the case. I just want to quickly show you the transparency system backing. Look at that, guys. $10 billion so far. As you can see, venue breakdown, Binance, Bybit, OKX, Durbit. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the way they keep their peg algorithmically is all dependent on hedging, right? And it's a big hedge mechanism. Now, their hedge and their allocations to these hedges and to the positions that they carry to offset, risk is basically one of the biggest, criticisms out there, right? Because if you are using a marketplace to keep your peg, What happens if that marketplace in itself loses its stability per se? What happens to the stability of Ethena or the stable coin? And again, that's a big, topic with regards to algorithmic stablecoins, but you can see that the success has definitely been there. USDE supply is increasing like crazy, so they're printing, right? That's that. And then at the same time, we are seeing that they're backing, mostly being Bitcoin 32%, right, in this case, and then you have 11% of Ethereum, which these are pretty big. Then you have Ethereum LSTs. That's that. And then Solana right now, they have zero Solana. Okay, fine. I don't even know why they put that there. I said 0% on Solana. Anyways, liquid stables, other stable coins like USDT, USDC, 53%. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting because lately, within the last month or so, we've been, obviously, we've been given the Genius Act, right? And the Genius Act basically states that, stablecoin issuers must have their stablecoins backed one-to-one with US dollars. Right, and that's quite interesting because then what happens to this configuration? Now, is Bitcoin going to give in the green light as well? Maybe that's something that might say because Bitcoin being a commodity might be the case that it might be squeezed through and make the cut, but not according to the Genius Act. So again, I'm not a political person in any sense, but you kind of have to know your laws and your politics to really understand some of the moves that are being put in place. But this is the thing, guys. Like right now, a lot of the stable coins of the past and even of the present, particularly the algorithmic stablecoin ones, are highly reliant on using existing assets within the crypto space as backing. Now, again, is there risk there? What happens if let's say Ethereum drops significantly? What happens to its peg? Can it handle it? Are we going to have to deploy, or what's going to happen here to keep everything pegged? And that's the concern when it comes to algorithmic stablecoins for the most part. Okay, so as a general statement, but they do have collateral backing. Now, being over collateralized is an issue in this case because it's hard to, expand. It's hard to scale because being over collateralized means that you have to have a lot more collateral than you need in order to have that buffer and that cushion. But then again, how they collateralize is through hedging. And again, I'm not going to get too crazy within the mechanism of its peg, but still, you have to understand that a relationship within longs and shorts, let's say, will give you a net neutral position. Let's put it that way. Let's keep it simple for now. Let's keep on going. Custodial attestations. You can see that there's various there's transparency everywhere, as I mentioned. We got independent third-party data links. You got lots of different blockchain metrics that you can actually take a look at. So they're very committed to giving you that transparency, which we have to have in this space, particularly talking about stable coins and this type of thing. All right, so let's move on. Let's take a look at the white papers a little bit. I thought it was necessary to look into some of the safety protocol that they have going on. But what is Ethena? At the end of the day, Ethena USDE is not the same as the fiat stablecoin like USDC or USDT. It's a synthetic dollar. That's what the difference is. Backed by crypto assets. Not backed by US dollars, not backed by anything else, T-bills or anything. Right now, it's backed by other cryptocurrencies, which, it might be an issue going forward and it may not. So we're going to have to see where this goes. This means that the risky implementation by interacting with USDE are inherently different. Please refer to the risks section. So guys, they do offer a full section with information where they basically acknowledge the risks associated to their protocol, which is very useful, obviously. Ethena is a synthetic dollar protocol built on Ethereum that provides a crypto-native solution for money. So USDE is the stablecoin alongside a globally accessible dollar saving asset. So accessible dollar savings asset. So SUSDE. Ethena's synthetic dollar provides the crypto-native scalable solution for money achieved by delta hedging Bitcoin. Okay, so this is what's important. is that their stable coin is dependent on their ability to hedge, right? So in that way, you reach an equilibrium. Ethereum, Solana spot assets using perpetuals and deliverable futures contracts, as well as holding liquid stables such as USDC and USDT. And we also have to understand that this is where those exchanges come into play, because this is where they're going to get access to their future contracts. Okay, so USDE is fully backed. Okay, subject to discussion on risk section regarding events potentially resulting in loss of backing and free to compose thorough out CFI and DeFi. What we have to understand is that there's always risks in this space. Okay, what about if something happens to their backing? Like I mentioned before, this is not new to this narrative. This narrative is definitely there. But when you have clarity, and you have, never mind the Clarity Act, but also the Genius Act, and then you have BlackRock all up in this, getting involved. I think that a lot of people are saying or thinking that it's very likely that we have some success here. It's meant to succeed. So again, let's continue. PEG stability is supported through the use of delta hedging derivatives, positions against protocol held backing assets, maintaining a relatively stable value with reference to the value spot crypto assets, as well as future positions. Guys, this is the best that I could do in explaining what this is. This sentence right here is spot on. Okay, so the PEG in its stability is basically hedging, delta hedging derivatives. So the change basically is meant to be offset through hedging derivatives positions against the protocol held backing assets. So if your assets that are being used to back are, let's say, coming down or going up or whatever the case is, you have to get into positions that will basically hedge against that volatility to keep the peg. Let's keep it simple, guys, because again, we're not getting into its algorithm and all of that, but that's basically the basic premise. The inclusion of liquid stables such as these two, USDC and USDT, enhance the efficiency of the delta hedging process, while also potentially acting as a safeguard. So of course, we have to have this, this trust of USDT and USDC. We know that, again, the Genius Act is going to implement some measures that will require stablecoin issuers such as USDT to basically back their stablecoins one-to-one to American dollars, and then have regular frequent audits, which is great. But then where does Ethena fit in all of this? Aren't they a stablecoin issuer as well? Right. So in this case, are they going to be required to back their stablecoins one-to-one also? And in addition to that, are they going to go through the regular audits in order to keep compliance? And this will be healthy. And I'm only saying this that it will be healthy for stablecoin issuance, because a lot of the times we think, okay, if I get into stablecoin and I can't trust the stablecoin issuer, and we've seen many cycles that USDT FUD is crazy, because without USDT, we're in trouble. Without stablecoin, we're in trouble. And this is a fact and something that we've been dealing with for many cycles. So finally, if we can have some clarity and security within the stablecoin narrative, and then let's say in the top of a bull run, we all take profit and want to get into stables, would it be nice to be able to, feel, basically to feel confident with the fact that our capital is safe in a stable coin? And that is where I feel like, okay, Ethena might have its edge. If it's going to come up with a place, an environment that at the end of the day will allow APY, but more importantly, to keep your capital safe in a stable environment. So this is where we're at. Liquid stables may earn rewards depending on where they are held. Again, earning APY and all of that via your stablecoin. Quick links if you're interested. There's some more stuff here. Permissionless acquire, direct mint, direct redeem. User currently able. So this is pretty cool. Okay, so let's USDE works. I'm not going to get into this too much, but then we'll talk about the delta neutrality. So how everything works here off the different exchanges, and the settlement on different exchanges. If you can see, USDE derives its relative peg stability from executing automated and programmatic delta neutral hedges with respect to the underlying backing assets. So hedging the price change risk of the backing asset in the same size minimizes fluctuations in the backing asset price, as the change in value of the backing asset is generally offset one-to-one by the change in the value of the hedge. It's quite simple, but at the same time, it is a mouthful. So feel free to do more research on how it uses this financial mechanism to keep everything stable. Again, I'm not going to get too much into that because it will get too deep and too confusing for a lot. And to be honest, what we have to do is focus on its main value proposition. This is what it wants to do. It wants to provide an algorithmic synthetic stablecoin where individuals can rely on, obviously, and then from there give utility to that stablecoin, whether it be the ability to earn APY or even to be able to use it through a large platform like Telegram and the works. Okay, so just think about that. Off exchange custody, assets backed USDE remain off exchanges settlement, institutional grade solutions at all times. So you can see that the assets backing USDE remain off exchange settlement, meaning they're off chain. And this could be a form of safety. And of course, for the custody to be safe, it needs to be, this enables Ethena to delegate undelegated backing assets to centralized exchanges without being exposed to exchange-specific idiosyncratic risk. So we got to really, understand that being off exchange is most likely the safest and the best way to do it. Protocol rewards accruing versions of USDE. In order to receive rewards, users must stake their USDE to receive SUSDE. So you can see that it's a dual token system. You stake your stables and you get the synthetic version of it. Basically, Ethena earns protocol rewards from 3 different sources today, with main sources originating from Ethena's short perpetual futures positions that collect funding rates on exchanges. So you have to understand that even if they are hedging and they have positions open, Ethena's short perpetual futures positions, if they are collecting funding, okay, that is a source of revenue, of reward. Okay, so that's how the protocol earns rewards. That's one of the ways. In 2024, BTC funding rates averaged 11%, while Ethereum funding rates averaged 12.6%. So you can see they were earning, for having those positions. SUSDE APY averaged 18% in 2024. Healthy. See historical examples. Okay, so you can see how it can work just by using this one implementation. Genesis story, of course, feel free to go check that out. That's pretty cool. Alternatives, stable coins, there's lots of different alternatives, okay? And this is, when we're talking about centralization, fragility, and lacking of scale, solutions are not possible. Guys, feel free to go and read this because I think it might help you realize the benefits that what they're trying to provide in comparison to its competition. Okay, so let's just move that. I think regulation is one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing Ethena do well. Size of the opportunity, obviously, guys, tokenizing the dollar is what we're basically tokenizing, a currency that can be used, that is stable. Guys, the utilities there. Imagine, getting paid in, let's say, Bitcoin. Of course, a lot of us would appreciate that as long as the market is going up. But what about if it's fluctuating very hard? Or what about if it's on a downtrend, right? We wouldn't want that case. In fact, we would want some stability so that we knew that when we went to the grocery store, we knew how much capital we had ready to use in our daily life. So there is a use case for stability, and the size of the opportunity obviously is crazy. It is definitely a necessity. We see immediate a $20 billion plus opportunity to scale a synthetic dollar across DeFi, CeFi, and TradFi. 100% the internet money is necessary, guys. Okay, so this is what gets me excited, is because a lot of people undermine the value of stablecoin, and the ones that we are become accustomed to are very centralized. Okay, so how can we centralize this whole objective? And it's through governance. And that's one of the main value propositions for the Ethena token, as I mentioned many times. Now, one of the things that could be giving, a lot of buzz is the USD DTB is a digital dollar, otherwise known as a USD stablecoin. So it can use the same way as older would use the other, basically any other dollar. It's going to be treated like any other dollar, whether to send and receive payments, acquire trade assets, or to simply hold dollars. But what's interesting to me, okay, is how it's being structured. So unlike actual dollars, it is a blockchain based token which enables faster and cheaper spending than traditional fiat banking system. Unlike many digital assets, it's fully backed by institutional grade tokenized US treasury fund products alongside a stablecoin reserve designed to facilitate rapid redemptions to support stability. Okay, initially it will be backed by BlackRock's USD institutional digital liquid fund token. Guys, the fact that BlackRock is here for a lot of people it makes it very bullish. Now, again, you can dislike or like BlackRock. That's not the point here. But will they be putting their best efforts to make this succeed? I don't see any other reason why not. Okay, so this could be a bullish thing, tradable, definitely scenario here to see this type of stablecoin receive this type of attention. Could be one of the main use cases or one of the main value propositions for Ethena. Okay, so keep that in mind. The Ethena network is also something more than just a stablecoin. I'm just going to be real about this for a second because we kind of have to deviate, because they're also focusing on having its own infrastructure or its own ecosystem of applications that also use their stablecoin. So not only are they going to have the stablecoin, but they also want apps that use that stablecoin on their chain. So although the dollar still remains like their focus, they still want an ecosystem that uses that stablecoin. So as part of building this ecosystem, upon SUSDE, ENA has been structured to accrue value in a similar token model to BNB, where ecosystem applications have set aside material proportions of their token supply to be airdropped to ENA holders. So they want an ecosystem, guys. And what better way to have a stable coin or reward people to use a stable coin within its own ecosystem. So you are in the ecosystem, you get some benefits for using the stablecoin of choice of that ecosystem. So it's pretty good, in my opinion. That's very interesting. I think obviously their ecosystem is super young. They're coming up with Ethereum and Derive, which is their newer applications that are in the pipeline. They're still in testnet and so on. But there are obviously going to be DeFi applications. I didn't expect anything otherwise at the current moment. But Ethereum is definitely one of the applications that are in the pipeline at the current moment. So keep an eye on it. As you can see, new applications, Ethereum, Perpetuals, and Spot Exchange built on its own app chain, running its entire order book with SUSDE, native rewards embedded. Crazy. The largest on-chain options and structure product protocol where SUSDE is a core collateral asset for the system. So they are trying to create applications, ecosystem, utility equals more value for the tokens, right? Including the stable coins. So what is ENA? Okay, so this is where we kind of have to look into ENA itself, because, as of now, I've been talking about all the stable coins that they issue, but where does ENA fit into all of this? Because, of course, this deep dive is all about ENA. It's not about stable coins, right? ENA is the first and foremost a governance token. So how does one benefit from holding? It's because they can get involved within the Ethena protocol and its critical decisions and many other, governance practices. Holders can vote biannually on elect members of the risk committee. So they are so in tune with the amount of risk associated to this narrative that they have issued a risk committee, and the the governance manages who is part of the risk committee. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about the risk committee in a second. And the future additional committees performing critical roles within the ecosystem. In this framework, ENA governance stakeholders are able to delegate everyday decision making with respect to key aspects of their ecosystem. So it's a governance token. Okay, for the most part, well, this is what they're saying here. So governance, decision making. There's the forum there. They got the platform to make that happen. The voting is all there. You can go and check that out. Typical DAO type of setup. For the first 6 month term, the risk committee members are we have Gauntlet, Block Atlantica, Steakhouse, Blockworks Research, Llama's Risk, Ethena Labs Research. Okay, so we're having a committee here that is focusing on risk. Holders will be able to vote directly on ENA tokenomic proposals and any proposals concerning ENA specifically. So this is another thing. When you have a governance token and you have governance, you have a DAO, you have that. That setup, you have to understand that tokenomics also can fluctuate over time. Whether burning happens or this or that, it all gets voted on, and that's where roadmaps become a little bit vague. But nonetheless, at least you're giving the power to the people, which are the token holders. The community has been active with governance with Ethena. Sorry, guys, let me see if I can get that away. With ENA holders voting on Ethereum, the DEX, the perp DEX, so liquid, hyper liquid alternative for on Ethena, which is again one of the hotter topics nowadays, is having a DEX with perpetuals. Guys, bullish, right? Backing assets for USDE, real world assets, reserve fund for real world asset allocation, another hot narrative, but again, still early. They're still in their announcement phase of the winners of the reserve fund to see where that goes. And a lot of cool stuff. So a lot of rewards, reserves as a liquid receipt token for locking ENA. So again, if you lock ENA, you get ENA, and is composable throughout a wide range of DeFi apps. ENA itself will earn rewards, initially receiving unclaimed ENA for season 2, okay, so on and so forth. So you can see there's an incentive to stake. There's an incentive to build. There's an incentive to vote. There's an incentive to be an Ethena holder if you want to be actively involved within their ecosystem. But then again, the ENA being able to earn a healthy APY is definitely a value proposition in itself. Generalizing staking pools in partnership with Symbiotic for staked ENA were incorporated to add utility to ENA. Introducing provide economic security for a cross-chain transfers of USDE relying on the layer 0. So restaked ENA, essentially. Guys, I would expect more utility for what Ethena is, but the reality is Ethena is a DeFi play. And Ethena being a very clear-cut, focused utility, issuing stablecoins, we can't expect it to have crazy utility. Like, what else is it going to do other than, allow for governance and being able to get rewards for staking? I can't think of anything else. So it's basic, but it does what it needs to do to provide that utility based on its narrative. So tokenomics, vesting schedule, there is a vesting schedule that is aggressive all the way up to 2028. I think about 44% are already in distribution, which means that there is still risk of dilution over time. Again, guys, we have to understand that, depending on where we are in market cycles and sentiment and so on, there's always peaks and valleys, and there are always scenarios of which demand is going to outperform supply. So the question is, are we in a phase of which demand may start outperforming supply? And that would be particularly the case in an altcoin season, bull run type of thing. So yes, during those moments, expect ENA to do well. But in a bear market, considering the token unlocks and obviously the vesting schedule and the amount of tokens that will be released even throughout a bull run, eventually those individuals will be in some profit and want to take profit. And throughout the bear market, those tokens that get released as well will most likely be sold off until fair value is hit. Again, bear market bottom, nice sideways price action, floor price achieved, and bull run once again. So what I'm trying to say here is, because the project is fairly fresh in the sense that there's still a lot of tokens to be distributed, we have to understand is that the risk of dilution is still there, and the aggressive sell-off that a bear market could bring is definitely possible. So what I would be doing here is having not a multi-cycle hold mentality if you're a trader. If you're not a trader and all you want to do is hold for years, again, you have to have your own convictions. But in my opinion, the way the tokens are allocated at the current moment, I would expect a typical sell-off for a bear market that equates to more than 80% correction, right? At least an 85% correction. So just keep in mind, you got three major allocations. Let's see if there's a better graphic here to highlight that. Core contributors, okay, 30% go towards core contributors. Ethena Labs team and then advisors, that's significant. Okay, with a 3-year linear monthly vesting after that, after 1 year cliff, 25%, and then after that's 3 years linear monthly vesting thereafter. No core contributor tokens are unlocked prior to the 1 year cliff. Okay, so at least you know that. That's the case, and there's 3-year dilution over 3 years, little by little. It's not like it's coming all at once. Investors and foundation, again, 25% cliff for 3 years. This is the investor allocation, represents tokens rights obtained by investors backing the Ethena protocol's development and bootstrap. So they deserve reward, obviously. Core contributors, people that are working on a daily basis, they got to eat. Investors, they took the risk, right? They got to get rewarded. The foundation is a group of individuals that should be using any capital to help the project. The foundation allocation will be used to further initiatives that serve to widen the reach of USDE, reducing crypto's reliance on traditional banking rails and fiat-backed centralized stablecoins. That is a mouthful of a statement, but it is a very, very, very valid statement in the sense that, they want their stablecoins to be used across this space as wide as possible. Chain agnostic. Who cares about which chain? Be liquid on that exchange. And at the end of the day, reduce the reliance on the traditional fiat system, but also centralized stablecoins. Because majority of the successful stable coins that exist at the current moment are centralized to the point that their audits are not even that transparent. Okay, we got to be clear about that. And that poses a lot of risk. So what we're trying to do is, get into a more of a healthier scenario environment with regards to stable coins, with less risk, more transparency, and more decentralization. Right, that's a major focus here, and Athena's trying to tackle that. But when you look at the token allocation, where you see investors, and core contributors, that have a lot of tokens, things are like, okay, well, then we got to wait to see all of these get diluted. And to what point do they get diluted where, we see tokens distributed amongst many wallets? Guys, we're going to have to be patient here. This is a usual step for a lot of new projects to, go through, where we see tokenomics not really that nice, because it's early, guys. 30% of the ENA is allocated to developing the Ethena ecosystem. I'm a big proponent about that. You guys know that. One of my major focuses when I do deep dives is asking myself, what is the team doing in order to ensure that the ecosystem grows? Because without an ecosystem, there's no real utility or use case for the token. So we need to see the ecosystem. The first 10% represents the portion of ENA airdrop to Ethena users. Okay, so create hype and marketing and that type of thing. It is dilution, but it is a healthy dilution in the long run when you see a distribution of tokens across many wallets, and there's stakeholders that are just regular individuals, not VCs or anything like that. So that's healthy. The remainder of the allocation will be used for various Ethena initiatives, including different campaigns, airdrops, and so on, as well as various cross-chain initiatives, exchange partnerships, and much, much more, held by the DAO and controlling the multi-sig. So again, a decentralized autonomous organization is one of which, centralized power does not exist. Voting and all of that is of the agenda, and the voting process controls of how these tokens or this capital is going to be allocated. So unlock schedule for core contributors and investors started at TGE in March 5th, 2024. So this is another thing to consider. We're already seeing unlocks happen since March 5th, 2024. Dilution has always been there, and in a way it's fine, because as long as it's slow and steady, and again, demand outperforms supply. Okay, so we got to understand this. So tokenomics a little bit iffy here, and I'll show you what I mean, because after the first quarter of 2025, you can see the ramp up, right? 2025, the fourth quarter, here we are, first quarter of 2026, right around the corner. And then all of a sudden, bang, you see this thing in full-fledged expansion. And then what about in a bear market? Who knows where we are? You know that everybody from here to here has been given tokens and they're in some profit. And in that case, a bear market that might land who knows where, maybe right around here, that means that people are going to be selling off. And that's typical. It's not like I'm going against Ethena or being fighting Ethena. It's just normal, guys. We've seen what cycles do to projects in altcoins, right? 85, 90% retracements. Just hear me out. There's a lot of video guides, which is pretty cool. If you want to learn more about it, again, from their perspective, go check it out. What is USDE? How to stake it? ENA, how to stake ENA. A lot of this has to do with staking up liquidity. Obviously, the more you stake, the more there's less tokens in circulation. If there's less tokens in circulation, based on the laws of supply and demand, price should go up. And staking has been a very common way to incentivize people from not making their tokens as liquid, meaning holding them tight. And why holding them tight? Because you're getting rewarded APY. That's the only reason why you would want to hold them tight. So think about it. Healthy APY, I think their average was about 18% in 2024. That's healthy, guys. Very healthy. And especially now with all the clarity and all the Genius Act and all the regulation and all of that happening, and Ethena being involved with BlackRock and all of this, I think that a lot of the funny business might be thrown out the window, given the fact that now there's some major accountability to major players. And I think that might be very healthy for the space. The USDE overview as a solution, peg, stability, mechanism. Again, guys, that's very technical. Go check it out. I think that might be useful. The mechanism example, how it works, this and that. Guys, it's a lot. It's a mouthful. It's a brainful, no doubt. But again, the delta neutral example, what does that mean? Here's we have, an inverse perpetual to explain the different payoff scenarios of a delta neutral strategy and how they can maintain that peg. Like I said, I'm not going to get through this. You're going to go through it and you're going to read through and see exactly their strategy on how that works. But there are criticisms, and we're going to talk about the criticism in the overview towards the end of the video. Okay, so let's hang tight. Now, again, back to the tokenomics a little bit, just more of a visual representation. They're full on into unlocks, as you can see. There's unlocks every month. September, 22 days left. There's some unlocks all over the place. October, and there's another major unlock coming around the corner. I think it's in December, if I'm not mistaken. But this is how it works, guys. This is how it works. Unlocks with new projects, it's not fully diluted. We have to expect that to happen. And here we are. We have the core contributors getting paid, and we have the ecosystem, and obviously a much more extended way into 2028. And the foundation, of course. And this is great. This is fine, because ultimately we need foundation and we need ecosystem. These two, we need to get these over with. And until then, there's going to be a lot more risk of dilution, because we don't know if these individuals are going to sell or not. And most likely they do. That's the truth. Some of them won't. Some of them will hodl through and keep it forever. That's fine. But a lot of these, they'll sell through, and this is how we get those dips. These are more emotional. Let's put it that way. Let's move on. That's that. I wanted to show you the holders count. The holders is definitely increasing over time. Significant amount, right? We're up a lot. 73,600 holders and counting, and definitely moving up. So that's pretty good. If you look at the holders, let's see if we can see the wallets or the chart here. What's going on here? I didn't want that. I'm not human. Okay, let's move on. That's not, but usually I look at this. And it shows me a pie chart of some sort. Oh, there we go. As you can see, we have the major wallets, 17%, and that's quite a bit. But this is the way it is. The top ones are basically allocations to different exchanges and different contracts and so on. I'm more concerned about what this one represents. Again, I'm not too positive of what that one represents and where it belongs. It's something that I would love to find out. Unfortunately, guys, they do not have a proper Telegram or a Discord to answer to ask any questions. So this is a big problem because I like transparency. I would love to know what this token address belongs to and what it is. If it's the foundation, great. Put it on the white paper and let me know if this is the foundation contract address. And same with this, 8%. It's significant. What is it? What is it for? Where does it go? Is it for the core contributors or whatever the case is? This is a contract address. That's fine. And then you have liquidity, right? Binance, and I'm sure there's one for Bybit and all of this, and Gate, as you can see. But it would be nice to have them, very clear and transparent. But like I said, Ethena being very institutional, I think that they would make sure that their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed. That's my thing. But again, not a faith-based system here in this space. You definitely need to look into that. Unfortunately, there is associated risk with the lack of transparency here. But this is where we're at. Okay, so let's move on. We have a blog, which is the mirror.xyz, which is cool. They actually use it. It's very active. July 29th, July 23rd, July 16th, 10th. You can see it's active, guys, and they have the latest and the greatest of what they're working on. So I appreciate this. A lot of the times I see blogs that are dead in the water. They don't even use them. In fact, it looks bad, abandoned, right? In this case, this is not the scenario. So we have attentions right here, custodial attestations, as we talked in the past, for transparency, money market rewards, and gas price estimations on Ethereum. That's quite interesting. That's an interesting read. I'm curious about what they have to say about that. Coinbase international launch, guys, go check that out. There was another one, Telegram wallet. Guys, this is crazy, bullish, interesting. Up to 15% APY. Guys, you know what this means for this space? This is going to be a trendsetter. I wouldn't be surprised that after this, we see it on Discord, we see it here, we see it there. No, I'm not saying it's going to be an Ethena-based thing, but I'm just saying we'll see other implementations of stable coins across socials. I wouldn't be surprised. X, all of it. It was going to be, it eventually will happen, guys. And as you keep on going down, you see there's lots of great announcements for this space. And of course, their convergence. Ethena 2025 is one of the posts, which is their roadmap. Unfortunately, it was not listed on their white papers or their Git book. But you can see that their blog does a great job giving the details, and this is also posted on their X account. So good stuff there, at least providing the information and making it transparent and frictionless. All right, so if we could quickly go down, you can see that they talk about 2024 quite a bit. Just to summarize their milestones, they hit everything that they wanted to achieve, and you can see that their protocol is doing everything that it wants to be at their current moment. So I just want to quickly get to where we're at today. You can see that even here you have USDE doing very, very well. Even DAI is doing okay, and stable coins are definitely picking up. Definitely a thing, right? So if we get into the 2025 section, TradFi, this is where they want to go. They evaluate that is the opportunity, of course, what was it, $200 billion opportunity, crazy amount of billions, compelling to TradFi. This is their whole objective, and they slowly get into their 2025 where is it? If I can get it, protocol, 1 billion people. This is the Telegram announcement. Something where, could definitely change the game here. And they also new dollar flows into the market in the next 2 years, which would be very, very, very useful, to see capital flow in and all that kind of stuff. So good stuff. Ethena network. So I think this is where things kind of get interesting for me as a developer and so on. And again, being a big proponent of their ecosystem, most important product in crypto with Tether and BNB on token model. So Ethena is simple, is to sit alongside Tether as most important product in crypto with both USDE and USDTB. So what they really want to do, again, what they might want to be doing in the next little while is continuing their ecosystem to build an ecosystem that will be using their stable coins natively and basically reward those applications within their ecosystem for doing so. and that would be give an incentive for developers to create those applications, and not only that, give individuals the opportunity to earn very, very healthy APY opportunities. And for me, that's great. Like trading, lending, derivatives. Obviously, DeFi is going to be the first play. It's usually the case, especially here where, the narrative is very tied to the DeFi play. And you guys know that I've been talking about DeFi being the first one to move. If we're going to see altcoins run, be prepared for the L1s to show strength. And then, right behind it is going to be the DeFi, the finance, because on-chain transactions, on-chain, activity is going to boil up as we see the L1s boil up. So be prepared. And they are preparing. Ethereum is the perpetual and spot exchange. It's in the pipeline, and its announcements have been made. Derived, the largest on-chain options protocol, liquid, hyper-liquid competitor, if you're bullish on that. And you can see their Ethena network ecosystem is definitely a part of their vision. So good stuff there. And, a very clear, transparent roadmap provided by the team here. Well, good stuff. Speaking of the team, let's see what they got. I went on their LinkedIn, and they're pretty much doxed. Okay? But considering such a big project, I believe that they're not all here, like 13 associate members, which means that there's probably some individuals that are not public, but that's fine. As long as the founder is here, we can see the founder and many others. Let's quickly go through some of them. The founder is Guy Young, founder at Ethena Labs. Okay, so you can see Ethena Labs full-time, and then Cerebris Capital Management full-time, and that's about it. That's all we really got from him. It seems to have a backing, a reputation. It has a history, which is great, which is what we kind of need here. But that's all we got with regards to information. And he's very active and very transparent. And for the most part, a lot of people believe that he has the skill sets to do what it takes. So good stuff. And what I found interesting is their marketing. Miguel here, he has some marketing experience. I like marketing because, again, the communications, the packaging, the retail investor, they eat that all up. So social media manager lead, social media and community lead, Lisk Berlinger, social media community lead. So this individual has some experience, but not only in general, but in within the space. As you can see, Bob build on Bitcoin, and so on. And this is something that, ultimately every project needs. And you can see he has fintech degree and brand management. Good stuff. So good talent right there. And then they have a general counsel. They got a lawyer on board, which is good. And I expected it, ultimately, given that they're in stablecoin and DeFi and all of that, I expected them to have some of that. So that's great, to have some of that. And then Elliot Parker, COO at Ethena Labs. Now, I'm not sure where this plays in because I think this individual wasn't listed on their website or anything. But nonetheless, Chief Operating Officer, Ethena Synthetic Dollar Protocol, Paradigm, guys, Community Manager in Marketing at Durbit, Trading Systems Engineer, Data Engineer, a lot of engineering, definitely qualified, Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Economics, definitely qualified individual, great stuff, good talent. And I do really feel that a lot of the talent may not be listed also. So there could be more. 13 people within this protocol is very light. I've seen bigger teams than this on small micro caps, let's put it that way. And if you kind of look through, you got lots of good talent. Ethena Labs, blockchain full stack dev, there's more on the list, right? There's more. Immediate develop engineer, Java, distribute, okay, flows, Athena, that's about it. We blockchain dev, more development team, blockchain dev, a lot of devs, a lot of engineers, lots happening. Small team, as I can see, but quite interesting, no doubt. Okay, so good stuff. And that concludes the deep dive, really. It's a very simple deep dive because we have to understand its value proposition and its mechanism. It can be simple but complex at the same time. And as per usual, guys, I do release a infographic that gives you that summary. I'm going to be posting that all over the social, so be prepared for that. Let's get into some of the details as just a quick recap. The ecosystem is fully loaded. They're core products at the end of the day. We have the USDE, okay, and the SUSDE and the SUDTB. What are all these guys? They're a bunch of stable coins. Basically, what they are, they're stable coins that have different use. So, USDE, synthetic stable coin pegged to $1 using a delta neutral strategy, okay, and then you'll have the SUSDE, is staked USDE, right? And that earns yield from perpetual funding and LSTs. Okay, so USDTB, which is the last one there, is a separate stablecoin backed by BlackRock's tokenized T-bill fund. Okay, that's where I think a lot of people are interested, and that's pretty much it. Now they also have their network in itself, which are other apps that are used, and that they plan on increasing their utility, as I mentioned. So you have the Ethereum and the Derive, which definitely useful and will be their first plays within the DeFi space, okay? And then you have DeFi integrations within protocols that already exist. Like, for example, we have Pendle, right? Pendle's a big one, fixed yield, and Aave, lending and borrowing loops. These are big integrations. So their ecosystem and their integrations are quite healthy. I give it a 9 out of 10 right there. Okay, so good stuff. Utility governance primarily. Okay, ENA is basically locked ENA to get ENA, which earns rewards. Okay, so you lock your ENA, you get ENA as reward. And then you move on. Stakers may get tokens from new apps built on Ethena. So if you're a holder and you basically hold Ethena, lock it up, you can get rewarded by getting new tokens and from apps that are being built. Again, based on their ecosystem growth, they're trying to make more applications that use their stablecoins, and as a reward, you'll probably get some tokens that belong to those apps. Good stuff. The roadmap was great, considering that it's a DAO and it has a governance. A lot of the times, the issue is that there is no clear message as to where they're going with things. So the launch of Ethereum mainnet, the DEX, expanding DeFi integrations, that's what they want to do, and grow USTB adoption within institutions, which is that BlackRock stablecoin, which is quite interesting. Don't forget that we also have that Telegram integration that is probably going to be in the works. Let's see where that goes, okay? But definitely 10 out of 10 as far as a vision, roadmap, where they're going with things, pretty good, quite interesting. Their team, founder, guy, finance background, ex-Cerebras, okay, he's got his background. Very light on the description on the LinkedIn, but nonetheless, risk committee, block, they have a whole committee that is associated to mitigating risk, and there's a whole page on their Gitbook that talks about all the possible risks. And again, if I just quickly go back, I think it's right here. You could probably find it right somewhere. They had a link, a very nice link to their risk right here. If you click here, risk, funding risk, liquidation risk, custodial risk, exchange failure risk, which is a big one, backing assets risk, stablecoin related risk, margin collateral risk. These are all risks, and this foundation that we're referring to are there to basically navigate all these risks and ensure that we have benchmarks and protocols set in place to avoid these risks and the mishaps are based on these risks. So team is mostly doxed. However, I feel like there are more individuals that are part of the team that should be listed, which would be great at the end of the day. Socials, unfortunately, their Telegram is announcement only, and it's kind of weird. There is no Discord that I could find. Their follower count, 273,000 followers with decent engagement. The website and documentations are well executed. Great. I like what they got going on there. But without having a way to really get involved with their community, it's very, at the end of the day, guys, I've done a lot of deep dives, right? And I've never seen a project not have any of this type of marketing and communications with the community. So either they're trying to be so institutional that that's not something that they find that they need to do. Like, does a local bank have a Discord? Does a bank have a Telegram? Most likely not. But this is the crypto space. And it's almost like we expect this to be the case. We want to have community and feel involved, and especially that there's a DAO, even more so, right? So I feel like there's something missing there with regard to socials, given that I've done over 100 deep dive videos, and within all of those deep dives, projects either had both or at least one, and in this case Ethena has none of them, unfortunately, or one that I was able to find. Let's clear that up, because sometimes they do have them and they're hidden somewhere and I couldn't find the links, but they weren't on CoinGecko and stuff. So that's that. Tokenomics, and on their website, by the way. Tokenomics, I'm a bit I have to understand that the tokenomics are new, in the sense that the project is still in distribution, still kind of like doing its thing. 30% go to core contributors, which are the team which is going to get unlocked over the next 4 years. Unlocked over 4 years. They have 3 years left, if I'm not mistaken. 30% ecosystem airdrop, 10% already issued. Okay, so the ecosystem, and the remaining is going to be split between investors and foundation. Okay, which we got to really understand that, there's a little bit to be said here with regards to dilution in the next little while. I told you what I thought. At the end of the day, guys, we know that the bear market is likely going to be rough on projects that came out during this time frame throughout the bear market. A lot of people got their allocations and are probably hodling through for the bull run. As soon as that objective is met, they will take profit, and we will see a huge dip. And it's not because Athena's bad or it's going to be a pump and dump or anything like that. It's just the reality of early investing. Early investors want to take profit, and you can't blame them for that. You just got to understand that eventually the project will get undervalued. And based on that, that is when we reaccumulate at the floor price. Okay, so this is where trading comes into play, and understanding how tokenomics does create overbought and oversold conditions. And there's going to be a point in time, just hear me out, that we will see Ethena become oversold in a bear market because of when the tokenomics were issued. Okay, just keep that in mind. Token releases. Relationships, healthy relationships, guys. Infrastructure and custody. They have Copper, Sifu, MirrorX, Fireblocks. They are hedging cross Binance, so they got their hedging. Remember, their algorithm is based on hedging, and they're doing this with Binance, Bybit, OKX, Durbit. So these are great relationships. BlackRock is all over that, based on their stablecoin, their separate stablecoin that is backed by their bills. Sky USDC, USDS, Mountain USDM, and Superstate USTB, other stablecoins. So decent relationships within the space. And again, guys, what else do you expect given its narrative? 10 out of 10 for all of this. And exchanges, it's listed everywhere. There's no other listings or places that you could expect it to get listed. It's listed on all exchanges, lots of liquidity. And at the end of the day, you can't be trading exchange listings right now, because there's no other exchanges to be listed on, right? If you think about it, Binance and Coinbase, done. KuCoin, Bybit, BitGet, MEXC, done. There's no more, right? The rest of them that possibly will list are smaller and probably won't cause that much of a fluctuation in price regardless. Now, speaking of price, guys, we have to understand the price has been on a tear in the last little while. So congratulations if you happen to accumulate with me. I've been, a big believer in the stablecoin narrative, and Ethena was my choice and my pick for this cycle. And ultimately, we've seen the price rise, and there has been a little bit of fluctuation. So bear with me with the lack of precision here with some of these numbers, because we've been seeing a lot of volatility in the last 24 hours. But we can see as an overall project, trading volume has been great. 20% of its market cap. Crazy, right? And given the fact that it's fully 44% is in distribution, it's in circulation, there's more dilution, right? We know that there's more tokens to be issued in the next little while. Market cap right now $4 billion. Could it get higher? 100%. I can see why this thing can't be one of the top 10 eventually, because of its narrative. Is it going to be the first mover advantage? Is it going to be the first algorithmic stablecoin to really make a difference in our space? It could be, guys. And if that's the case, remember, there's room for that. We thought Terra Luna was going to be the one. And eventually you saw what happened there. So we got to be really honest and transparent about the capabilities and the opportunities that the market does provide. And there is still that algorithmic stablecoin narrative that is untouched and still with a lot of potential. Okay, so it's part of the DeFi and stablecoin narrative. Inflation cap can only increase by 10% a year and only once per year. So there is an inflation cap. And we have to understand that as the tokens increase over the time, it's only 10% a year. Next unlock is about 94.2 million ENAs on September 2nd. Be prepared. That's another unlock that we could see a bit of a dip. 23,000 wallets hold it, and it is climbing. A lot of people are, it is growing. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, the impacts of the Genius Act. I felt like it was very necessary to address this here, because this is where things can change for Ethena in a good way, for sure, and maybe in a turbulent way in the short term. Ethena's USDE and USDTB must now be backed 100% by cash or treasuries, not crypto or LSTs. This is interesting because we saw it's backing cryptos, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other LSTs, and so on. And based on the Genius Act, this is no longer going to be the case. That could require a shift from Ethena's mixed reserve model to something that focuses on US dollars, right? So this is Trump's way of ensuring that the US dollar stays relevant. Because if it's going to be pegged at the end of the day, it's going to need to be backed by it is tokenized US dollars. Okay, so interesting. We'll need to be publicly disclosed reserves and which assets back their stablecoins. So again, a little bit of clarity here, a little bit of a shift, a little bit of opportunity. Regular audits will be required, right? Stronger oversight than before. And because it's the stablecoin narrative, I don't disagree, guys. It's like something that may be necessary to bring some safety to the stable space that we have, right? More apps on Ethena network using the USDE as a base. So again, more of that, and the Telegram integration, that's very necessary to see more utility and use case of their stable coins. This is not a true stable yield. It's a market dependent, so it can collapse quickly. This is something that we have to understand. This is something that we may need to kind of focus. This is one of the major criticisms, because its true stability is based on market dependency, right? So if the market fluctuates based on its reserves are based on market assets, traded assets, how can that be that stable? Right, so we got to understand, yes, its mechanism is there to hedge, again, the hedging mechanism, but what about if the market in general doesn't give you those capabilities to do it effectively any longer as we expect, right? This is where things go a little bit haywire. Even with off-exchange settlements, OES, Ethena's hedges still depend on major centralized exchanges, like I said, and we had them listed. Binance, Bybit, OKX, Durbit, and now Coinbase International is, places of which Ethena is going to be having their hedge and dependent on these exchanges. Can we completely depend on exchanges to be there when we need them? Absolutely not. And again, that's a choke point. That is a point of vulnerability. If one of these venues freezes withdrawals or fails, or exchange margin rules suddenly change for whatever the case may be, or even regulation changes, this could disrupt the whole hedge and their whole mechanism. So there is some criticism. However, with new innovation, there's always criticism, and there's always opportunities for turbulence along the way until, the engineering of things work out. And then that's where you get the first mover advantage. And I'm curious to see whether Ethena has what it takes to make it to that first spot and maintain that first spot, and eventually giving us some value in this space that we are willing to back. ENA with a market cap at about $30 billion, which is not even that aggressive if you think about it, will do a 7x more or less. Again, more or less. The price projection, I say if it hits $4, if we did well, okay, if it hit $4, we did well, and I would be happy to de-risk at that level and take profit and understand that point there's going to be a lot of profitable individuals and those individuals are going to want to take profit at any signs of weakness in this market, and don't become exit liquidity, okay? Or don't keep your capital there, your gains, protect those gains. And this is why I'm giving, Ethena 8 out of 10. At the end of the day, it is a little bit risky because of its narrative, a little bit of uncertainty because of its narrative, but it's a necessity. And it's a necessity, and it's a need for this space to evolve and to go into something new and fresh, and provide a software solution that changes the way we keep our stability, our capital stable, which is, again, these stable coins. Okay, guys, so that's pretty good. That summarizes. Don't forget, I'm going to be putting this on the socials, on X and so on, so you can use this as a cheat sheet. I'll have it on the Discord and so on and so on. All right, guys, let's take a look at some charts, because I know you're here to talk about charts as well. Let's see what's been going on here with the Ethena chart. The Ethena chart has been ripping it, guys, and congratulations. At the end of the day, if you happen to be following me here on the channel and getting into these dips, at the end of the day, this double bottom, this rounded bottom, ended up being a very, very lucrative entry position, because at the current moment, Ethena is on a tear. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, it's hard. It's hard for me to be telling you, look, I told you so. Because at the end of the day, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody knows. It's just probability. The chances of a reaction here, once we form this structure with divergence and the double bottoms and the nice volume and the market participation and all of this that was happening in this level, was good enough of a level for me to take a shot at upcoming narrative, given that we were getting some clarity and getting some basically the Genius Act and so on. And that could have been, the catalyst. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because you can see that whatever it was caused the price to run pretty good from the general area of accumulation, which is, let's say, point of control zone, maybe 34 cents. And at the current moment, it's up 120%, which for a larger cap, it's not a tiny, but it's not, huge, but for a larger cap, it is a good move. It's 120%. Now, in the meantime, we have to understand the market structure. We broke structure to the upside. We made a higher high. And we haven't really come down for a major retest of the breakout zone. Does it have to happen? Now, it doesn't have to happen, guys. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it keeps on going. Like even this, right? Did we actually come back and test the breakout zone after we broke out of the change of character structure right here? We didn't. It kept on going, and it flew, and it went into almost price discovery. Okay, now that we came down and retraced and came down to the bottoms again, we're flying again. And the question is this fractal going to be a replication of what happened here, and potentially now test the higher levels once again? And then even more so, is this going to be an opportunity where we start to see this double bottom break out into an expansion to the upside, where we start hitting higher levels in extension levels, right? So this is something that we have to really understand. But as a trader, and again, extension levels, swing high to swing low, right? 1.27, 1.618 extension, 2.618 extension, 3.618 extension. Why not? Is that all? I've seen it happen before. The problem is, in the short term, it already ran 120%, and it flew through the volume gap. The volume gap that I defined early on. I got to TA, and we covered this live many times. But you can see it flew through the volume gap, the red box. Now, all of a sudden, we start hitting levels of liquidity, order blocks that could be emotional. We're hitting maybe the 87 cent area. That's the golden pocket level, right around here, right? 0.5 fib, golden pocket, 786. At what point do we hit a level of which profit taking will exist? And when profit sell-off or distribution happens, we might roll, we might peak, we might have some manipulation, something might happen, and then we roll over and come down through the imbalance that is obviously left behind, and maybe tap right into this order block, and maybe we get some support here and then bounce for another higher high. And that's what we make higher lows and higher highs. Even in a bull market, we do get dips and we get rallies and so on and so forth. It's not always straight up in green. So what I'm trying to tell you right now is your risk to reward ratio is absolutely trash. Like even though I was a big believer in that Ethena had a great opportunity to see a nice run up, and it happened, I just can't say it now. Like, now's not the time to go all in on Ethena. because again, the expansion, the move, everything is already has been, executed. Look at that, guys. Now it could go up higher. Like I said, tomorrow we could wake up, it could be at $2, it could be at $1.50, it could be back to previous highs. And even if you measure all of that, it's a 50-50 shot. Because if that's the case and you go up with the setup and you start looking, okay, maybe I'm going to get it right here. I think it's going to go long. That's my next level of resistance. Where do you put your stop loss? Okay, I'll put my stop loss over here. Guys, you know how risky that is? Look at the risk to reward ratio is only 2-to-1. Reality is that's not even the greatest, and it's so risky because your dip coming down to that level is 33%. It's a significant dip, and you're buying an expansion. Even on local time frames, you're buying an extension from this top higher high, probably a 1.618 extension already, and we don't even know if this extension is done. Right? It could keep on going. There's no market structure here on the daily suggesting a reversal. Okay, we're going to get into that in a second. I'm just showing you big picture. You're buying into an expansion that literally gives you a 50-50 shot. Your real stop loss is all the way here at the bottom, and that's literally a 50-50. Long 50-50 to short. Look at your ratios, not the greatest within this whole range. Okay, it's a 50-50 shot. With that being said, does that mean that maybe you don't DCA? No, look, if you have some capital that you're willing to deploy and you have a bit of FOMO, you like the fundamentals, wait for a little bit of a dip and accumulate a little bit. But really, guys, don't expect this to be a bottom price, because it's not. I'll be honest with you. Short term, it is not a bottom price. Let's see what's going on here. Look, it's overbought in every single way. Every single way it's overbought. I can expect a little bit more to the upside. Okay, because again, we have the volatility line right now. As we speak, the orange line is pushing up. Let it happen. It's going to happen. It's going to keep on moving. We don't know when it's going to stop and get rejected. Look at this EMA is facing up green histogram bars on the daily. Still moving up. Okay, guys, so we're still bullish. But then until when? The question is, when are we going to be caught all of a sudden going long and then it gets rejected and this becomes the scenario where we start to see this make a lower low and lower high and get oversold? Right? That's the problem, is that your risk to reward ratio is absolutely garbage. Now, again, you might say to yourself, but Mike, I want a position. You have choices, guys. It's all about position size. Go in slow, lower time frames, find a market structure that you're interested in. Like right now, even on the 4-hour. Like, unfortunately, even on the 4-hour is overbought. Everything is heated. You see a little bit of a bull flag right here. Maybe on the 1-hour, you can get in on something like this. That's very possible if you feel like it's going to go long and continue to the upside after an impulsive move up, as you can see. And I'm doing this on the 1-hour. This could be a bull flag for continuation, but if it breaks down, get out. Right? That's fine. If it breaks down, get out. You come back to this level, come and hunt the liquidity here on this breakout zone within this order block. Who knows how low we go? We have a bit of a point of control. That would be your buy the dip opportunity on the 1-hour. I'm not talking about the daily. I'm talking about a 1-hour reaction from here. Maybe bounce up, and then maybe continue down if that's the case, based on the daily, because the daily is so overbought right now. It wouldn't be surprising to me that if we see a cool off in the market, because you got to admit, guys, even Ethereum's killing it. It's in price discovery. We could see, not price discovery, but almost there. It's leading towards there. It made a higher high, broke out of the critical breakout zone anyway. And if we do get a bit of a pullback throughout the space, you could expect that Ethena might pull back. And if that's the case, we might even start seeing a market structure shift here to see a lower high and eventual lower low, where we come back and test this level to hunt some liquidity in this order block. And that would where I would like to see a nice structural bottom and some sort of oversold condition where I can start going long again. But in the meantime, guys, don't be buying green candles. No matter how bullish it is, no matter what it is, reduce your position size based on risk. And buying into this right now is a little bit risky. Unfortunately, that's the case. Although I was super bullish all into this level, now it's based on price action and price and expansion and all the TA and everything. You're buying overbought conditions in the short term. Okay, long term, we're still good. So if you buy right now and we dip, you're just going to have to hold until it makes another higher high. But again, when, how long, how low do we go? I don't know. Just that you're buying into an expansions. We do not buy tops. We buy bottoms. We buy from a position of strength. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive, massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.